Hello, everybody. Let me just adjust. There we go. So, I just realized, because I hadn't deleted the last screen recording of the last video I uploaded, and I realized it had been more than 7 days since I'd uploaded to the channel, and I want to apologize for that. It's been a busy last week or so. Um, but also it's been kind of weird. I had another flare up of my knee injury um over the last couple of days and nights, and took me a while to get over that. And when you're injured and you're in pain, you'll really feel like uploading or trying to focus on a game or anything. But again, I do apologize about that. I'm trying to remember where what I've done that you guys might not know about. I can't remember if I brought up going to the Christmas market. Like I said, the cathedral. We have this big giant cathedral off of High Street, which is kind of like the main street in town. And every year they have these Christmas songs. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, I think I have talked to you guys about it, because I remember mentioning how small a lot of the stalls are. Like, there's not a lot of room, and usually they're at least a little bit off of the ground, which makes it awkward when you have a walking stick, or you've got issues with your knees or whatever, and you're trying to get up and get down and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, so I did that. Um, and then a few days later, I went out because I wanted to get Keith something for Christmas, and I wasn't sure. I kind of talked to him about maybe getting him a Steam gift card, because I keep talking to him about wanting to play Stardew Valley co-op with him, because I've never done that with anybody yet. I've never played with another player before, and I think that would be fun, and that would also be a good reason for me to try out the Four Corners farms, which I've never played before, just because, I don't know, I don't really feel like it's necessary. When you're only playing with one person, it's like I'd rather have all my stuff spread out where I can see it. But who knows? Maybe I should go ahead and try the Four Corners farm by myself. But I've always wanted to do co-op with him. We used to play like Minecraft and Elder Scrolls Online together all the time. And well, I can't run Elder Scrolls Online on my computer anymore. At least I'm not aware that I can. Last time I checked, they had this big announcement on their website that said, starting in this date. When I wanted to try and go back into it after I got rid of my old computer and got my new computer. I wanted to see if I could try Elder Scrolls Online again, and tried downloading, and it wouldn't even download. And so I was like, okay, something's wrong. And so I went to the website that they have for Elder Scrolls, including forums and stuff, for if you have questions, and basically was met with this big post that they made that apparently, I don't know if they made it anywhere else. Like, I don't remember seeing anything like, oh, we're gonna stop supporting Mac. But that was the basic gist of it, what they weren't going to be supporting Mac anymore. And so I was like, well, I can't play Elder Scrolls again. And I still can't figure out how to get Minecraft on my computer again. Tried downloading for the Switch, but it is like I cannot figure out the controls at all. Maybe I'm being stupid, but I don't know. But yeah, so anyway, co-op games don't really seem to work, so the only game that I currently have in my library right now that I can play co-op is, well, two. I forgot about Sky, but I don't think Keith would really be interested in that game. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I know that I've told him about it in the past, and he hasn't really seemed into it. Like, I've shown him a little bit about the game and everything, and and it's kind of one of those games that, you either buy for the aesthetics, you either buy for how pretty it is, or you buy it because of the lore, because you're a lore digger and you're like, okay, I'm gonna find out the story behind this. And, or you buy it so that you can get cute outfits, cute clothing, and everything. And, nothing wrong with any of those, but he just really didn't, when I told him about it, he really seemed into it all that much. So the only other current game that I have that is co-op, as far as I'm aware, is Stardew Valley. And, like, you can play with, like, more than one farmer, and apparently you can also marry said farmer in the game. You can marry each other in the game, whereas usually, you have to, you can either run the single life, which I haven't tried yet, although my current playthrough, I'm kind of doing the single life. Like, I've kind of got a competition going. Like, I haven't gotten to dating status yet with anybody, but, like, I'm kind of one of those that, well, quite frankly, in my current playthrough, what I would really like to do is get to the point where I can meet and befriend Krobus, who is the little shadow person who lives in the sewers. But I'm waiting until, because you have to donate 60 artifacts of different sorts to the museum, and then you get the rusty key from Gunther, and you can get into the sewers, and that's where you meet Krobus. I have never done a run where Krobus moves in with me. I've always married somebody or whatever. But that wasn't quite fun for me. So I've started kind of doing a little competition. And I want to see, currently Abigail is leading the way, but like Leia, Emily, and I believe Elliot are like tied, almost tied for second and third place. So I'm very curious to see what happens. Like, it kind of depends if I unlock if I unlock the sewers before anybody, I get the dating status with anybody, then I'll go with Krobus. But if I get to dating status with one of these villagers beforehand, then I might go with them. I haven't quite decided yet, but it's kind of fun to switch it up sometimes. It's kind of fun to have that kind of thing. So let's see. I'm trying to think of. Excuse me. I also seem to have a little bit of a cold, or something, or a cough. Not entirely sure what that's about, but I have no other symptoms. Like, I don't have a fever or anything. I just have a deep chest cough. And so, you know. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. Like, Saturday we had Dungeons Dragons, which was really fun. We're still going through these underground tunnel area and fighting different monsters and demons and all that kind of stuff. And that is fun. Oh, and I also upgraded my character. We were supposed to level up our character over the week, so I did that. Not yesterday, the day before yesterday. Keith helped me with that. And so, but yeah, so, I don't know, it's just been kind of one of those weeks that so far it's kind of gotten away from me. And like I said, I kind of blamed the knee issue on that. But the other really cool thing that I did is, because I wasn't sure if I wanted. Well, the problem is that Keith doesn't drive. I don't have a driver's license, and we don't have a car. So, the problem is when I have issues with my knee, I can't really go anywhere. Because, like, it gets to the point where it's like, I can't really put weight on my left leg for too terribly long, or it gets bad. And like I said, I don't know for sure what's causing it. Like, it could be one of two, or maybe two or multiple things. But my left knee, I had a bike injury that required stitches years ago when I was in middle school, 5th grade to be precise. And, wasn't bad. Didn't really affect me, and I went through life, Well, then, years later, and to put it in context, this is after I'd gone to visit Keith that first time. After he come to visit me, and I was like, I'm gonna go visit him, and blah, blah, blah. And was turned away. Well, we ended up moving. I don't really remember why at the moment. I'm sorry. I think it had to do with the fact that we were in like a cul-de-sac and an HOA and all that, and things were getting too expensive. So we moved out to an area in West Des Moines, which is the area that's west of the capital of our state of Iowa. And so we were living out there. It was in a suburb, no big deal, really no issue. But the nice thing is they had a little walking path that was a few blocks away from where our house was. So a lot of times, especially if I was, cause keep in mind, after I came back, I was probably suffering from depression. I never got help for it, but yeah, I was really sad there for a while. And so I would go out to this walking path and I would walk. And it was really pretty. I wish I'd taken some pictures of it, but they had like willow trees and little lake, little ponds, and there were benches set up so if you wanted to sit, you could sit, and it was really nice. But like the other really nice thing is if you kept walking, like it circled around, but if you kept walking in one direction, you eventually pop out and there would be like a couple of gas stations, a couple of fast food places. So there were a few times where I would take a little bit of my spending money and I would, especially keep in mind, I didn't, it took me a bit to find a job. But like, I would take some of my spending money and I would go, basically, I believe the term is eat my feelings. I would either stock up on snacks or I would get something, eat it on the bench, in the park walking trail area, and then I would walk home. Well, there was one day where I had been walking and I was heading back down the normal road to go back home. I went to step down with my left leg, and all of a sudden these shooting pains just started emanating from my knee, and I didn't know what the problem was. I didn't know what was going on. So I limped home the rest of the way, told my mom, who, for years had been a registered nurse, and so she was like, oh, you probably need to go to the doctor, because it sounds like something went right. And of course, that makes me worry, because I'm like, this is the only body I have. And it's like, I want to, well, especially at the time, I was, on cholesterol medication and stuff. And I was like, constantly being told, oh, you need to exercise more. Oh, you need to go on walks. Oh, you need to not eat that. You need to eat healthy stuff only. And stuff. And even when I did eat mostly just healthy stuff, I still had issues losing weight. Probably because I was depressed over not being able to spend 6 months with my then boyfriend. But yeah, and so basically like, I remember at the time I was seeing the same, well, she was a nurse practitioner, so she wasn't a doctor, but I was seeing this older lady named Dixie Harms. And she did not like me. And to this day, I do not know why she didn't like me. I, I have no idea. I have no clue. But the weird thing is, my mom was the one who recommended her to me. Because she was the person who my mom saw for, like, medical stuff and checkups and everything. And she said, oh, yeah, she's great, blah, blah, blah. So I make an appointment, and I go and I go see her. And for a while, everything's fine. And then I don't remember if this is the first time I had a problem with Dixie, or if this had been happening for a while at this point. All I remember was I went in, and keep in mind that, the only medication, I'm on 2 medications at this point. I'm on stuff for my thyroid, hypothyroidism, and I'm on a pill for my cholesterol, because I have high cholesterol. I've always had high cholesterol, and I probably always will have high cholesterol. It's kind of one of those things I'll have to deal with probably for the rest of my life. Not an issue. But anyway, so I go in, I make an appointment with Dixie. I go in, I tell her what happened, and I explain the situation. I say, I don't know what, like, by this point it had stopped hurting, I think. I'm trying to remember if it was still a dull throbbing, or if the pain had completely gone away. But anyway, so Dixie, the only thing she did, she grabbed, well, warning, by the way, she didn't tell me, okay, this might hurt, but I'm gonna test out your knee. She grabs my entire leg, whips my leg around, which caused me to go ouch out loud, because it was like, what are you doing? And, like, she knew it. She didn't offer to x-ray it. She didn't offer to MRI it. She didn't offer to, do you want me, she didn't even really ask me any questions about it, from what I remember. And so she was just like, so you want to know what she did? She increased the dose of the cholesterol medication, because apparently, even though she didn't tell me, apparently in her mind, that my knee was carrying my body, and that my body was too heavy, and that caused it to be injured. And I'm just like, but, like, she didn't tell me any of that. She didn't say anything like that to me. She didn't ask me questions. She didn't do anything like that. And so I just basically kind of shut up about it. Like, I remember the next doctor I went to see, who was Amy Fulton, like, I think I may have brought it up to her at some point, and she just kind of brushed it off as well. And it's like, so I didn't even bring it up with the third doctor I ended up going to. And that was right before I came over here. And that was, the third doctor was back when Dr. Fulton, or I'm sorry, she was a nurse practitioner too, so I'm not sure what title. Yeah, I'm used to just calling them doctors because, they're the people I'm used to seeing. Because usually, you can't just get blood work done anymore or get something tested or whatever. You have to see a doctor, at least in America, which is what blew my mind so much when I moved over here. And it was like, I have not seen, like, I'm on my second doctor now because my first doctor retired or something. And so I have not seen either one of the people who are assigned to be my doctors, but I have seen and started to develop a bit of a relationship with the nurses, and they're all great. They're all wonderful, friendly, kind, professional, all that. I give them mass props. But yeah, so basically, after being brushed aside by the second person I went to, I was just like, I just kept it quiet. I just didn't say anything. I dealt with, I did a lot of self care when I had the bad days, took ibuprofen, put heating pads on it or ice packs or, and like most of the time it was fine. I was able to walk around. I was able to do whatever I needed doing. But since moving over here, I've had episodes where, like, my knee, like, I don't know if I twisted or not entirely sure what happens, or if it's just over exaggerated, or like I think it's part of the problem. For a while there, I was wearing Skechers shoes that came with the inserts in them, and I still have a pair of inserts from before I left America, and so I'm using so but basically the inserts wore down to where they weren't really effective anymore. And so I got rid of those inserts and put my old inserts into my shoes. And I'm wondering if that's what aggravated the knee. Because, we were so used to, the old inserts were like full shoe inserts. They filled up the entire shoe, and these inserts are like the half ones, they fit in, you're supposed to fit your ankle into it, and then, but like the front part of your foot doesn't have that insert. And so I'm wondering if, number one, I need full inserts, and number two, there's a couple questions I have, but yeah, for the most part, I'm just like, yeah, it's weird, but it's not a huge deal. But I'm also wondering if changing out the inserts aggravated the knee because not, you know, it's not like a full shoe insert anymore. It's like a half insert. And if, because it is different, I'm wondering if my knee, was like, oh, I'm not used to this. Crack, pop, kind of thing. And so, but yeah, so I spent the last couple days kind of chilling here at home. I didn't really do an awful much except for be on YouTube. Well, and the other thing is I'm trying to catch up on posts for the Marvel RPG site, which is going along fine. It's just one of those periods where I don't have a whole lot of new threads I'm doing. So it's kind of like I only have I usually only have at the most like 4 or 5 posts to reply to. So I'm trying to take it slow so I don't run out of things to post in. But then that can be kind of hard because then you've got the person who's waiting for me to post and they're like, you doing okay? Are we posting soon? Yeah. But yeah, so. And also, it's getting close to Christmas, which I'm excited about. And I don't remember where I put it, but we went out to lunch the other day with Keith's mom. I always like that. I always like the going out to lunch with his mom because she's fun. She definitely is. Like she tries helping me out the car sometimes and and stuff like that. Or she'll hold my purse while I get into the car or whatever. And I don't know, that just means a lot to me. So I really like Keith's mom. She's really cool. But so anyways, and we talked about Christmas. We are apparently going to start out by being at his mom and dad's place, probably have food and open up presents from each other on that day. And then we're gonna go to, I'm not sure, Keith has one brother, and he lives somewhere with his wife and 9-year-old son, I believe. And like I said, crack me up because when we went out for my birthday dinner and everybody was there, I walked in and their son has a Switch. So I almost pulled the kid aside at some point. It was like, what games you got on there? But I mean, I didn't have mine. If I'd known that William was going to be there with his Switch, I would have brought mine. I would have stuck mine in my purse and been like, and been like, what do you think? Do you like Sky? Do you want to? I'm always trying to get Sky Buddies because I used to play with it with Shay, with my niece, but she doesn't play anymore. Apparently, she's way too busy. And so, which I understand, but it also kind of makes me kind of sad because it's like I miss my game buddy. But yeah, so I don't know. I might have to stick my Switch in my bag or my backpack, whichever I use when we go for Christmas. I might end up sitting next to William and being like, "What you got?" Of course, he is 9 and a boy, so he probably has. I mean, maybe not, but you know, like it would crack me up if I sat down with him and found out that he actually plays Sky. Because I would be right then and there, okay, let's find each other, let's run each other. You know? Because like I'm used to going about on my own, I'm used to doing quests on my own and that kind of stuff. But it'd be kind of fun to have a game buddy again. And be able to just be like, let's go candle run, or whatever. But I don't know, we'll see. Also, I wouldn't force him to do anything if he didn't want to, because I don't know how he feels about me. I just like, I think I remember mentioning this at the time, but when we went out for my birthday, he asked his grandmother, so Keith's mom, he asked her if he could show me where the dessert was. And it's like, smart kid, you show me where the dessert is and we both get dessert. And so it's like, yeah, I get it, but I'm going along with it because, yeah. But yeah. So, whatever that. I also feel like I'm rambling, but, at the same time, it's like, I don't really have anything specific to say in this video. I'm just kind of, like I said, I realized it had been a week since I uploaded something, and I was like, I just want to talk for a bit, so hope you guys don't mind. If you don't want to hear my rambling, feel free to go on to something else you enjoy. But, in the meantime, I'm like, yeah, just kind of want to talk about it. Also, I'm feeling a lot better. I was not feeling so much, it's like when you're in pain or when you're sick or whatever, you don't feel like talking or interacting with people. At least I'm that way, I'm just kind of like, I just want to stay in. I want to watch YouTube. I maybe will write a little bit, but, nothing other than that. So, but yeah. So that's fun. So we're getting ready for Christmas over here. I cannot believe we're almost there. It just seems like this month has just flown by. And so, but I do promise in the new year I'm going to try to be more consistent with uploading regularly, especially with like games and stuff. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I can get maybe a new game, or I can figure out how to hook up Switch to the computer, to the laptop, or whatever, and so I'll have more games to show you guys. Kind of want to show you guys Sky, because Sky is a really pretty game, and I really enjoy it for the most part. I also like the lore. I also like the lore of the game because I know I mentioned this in the past, that they don't just feed you the lore. It's like one of those games. It's one of those games where there's not even a lot of talking, because a lot of spirits and other kids you come across, unless you unlock being able to talk to them in a written format, you communicate through expressions. And you have a lot of different expressions. You have everything from, this means no or not interested, to like, you can blow kisses to somebody, or you can laugh and giggle, and it's like a lot of different things. But yeah, so a lot of it is like non-verbal, non-written communication. But like a lot of the lore comes via drawings that you come across, or murals that you come across. And it's like you have to interpret the murals. And like a couple of seasons ago, they did Season of the Two Embers, and they did one Ember or Sky Kid's story. And so they're trying to do a little bit more as far as filling in the gaps, because there are a lot of gaps in the Sky. Like, you will come across something and be like, oh, they used to, like, I remember when one of the big underwater areas came up for that season of the Abyss, which was really fun, very challenging in its own way, but like, you dive into the water, you go down, and you're swimming through this, what used to be this big old building that used to be on the surface, I'm assuming. And as you're swimming down, a mural comes up on the wall, and it basically shows some of the original people who lived there doing tests on light creatures, trying to extract the light from them. And so it's like, usually, I remember the first time I saw it, I stopped, I swam toward it and hovered there in the water while I looked at the mural. And it was like, oh. But it's like, you really only get that kind of stuff. Like, you'll get glimpses. But up until Season 2 Embers, there hasn't really been much in the way of connecting the dots, They kind of leave it open for interpretation, which is fine, because it's fun to see what theories certain people will come up with, But, and like I said, now they're trying to fill in the gaps a little bit more, and they're trying to be more like, this explains this, or this connects this, or, So it's kind of fun. But anyway, but I would like to play Sky 4, and maybe with you guys, if any of you guys play Sky. There's also, I finished the Cabernet game. And I started playing it again. Because I didn't get to complete certain quests. And so I'm trying to finish those quests and stuff. I also want to. Oop, you want to do that? Also, want to play Strange Antiquities again, which is the sequel to Strange Horticulture. And I also keep checking on the Switch because they have like a eShop where you can buy games and stuff. I also keep checking for certain games that are coming out because, like, on Steam, it shows that certain games will only be available on Windows computers. And so, like, I keep checking because there's two games in particular I'm looking forward to. One is Witchbook, which is kind of like a life sim, but actually, like, witches, and you go to a magic school and stuff like that. So I'm kind of curious to see how they do that. And also, I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for this because there hasn't been a lot of information on it yet. But there's this game that's supposed to come out called Grave Seasons, which is a farming sim, but with a mystery twist. Man, it kind of reminds me of the old game Werewolf, where, like, one person is like the sheriff or the jailer, one person is the killer, and one person is the doctor. And, like, I used to play that live, like, all the time, back before the internet. Yes, I am that old. But yeah, so Grave Seasons is apparently the basic premise is your character escapes from jail, ends up in this town, and you become a farmer. And so it's like a farming sim. You do farming, you meet people, you can romance people, that kind of thing. But apparently in the game, and like it's randomly selected and it changes each time you play. So what I find fascinating is, like I said, is that the villain changes each time. And so you have the chance of unknowingly jading the serial killer. And not only is it just a serial killer, it's a supernatural serial killer. So I'm very kind of curious about that game. I'm really hoping that it comes out on Steam, comes out on the Switch when it does come out. Because if it does, I am getting it because it just sounds like so much fun. But yeah, so that's been basically what I'm doing. I've just been, um, excuse me. I've just been doing stuff like playing games, writing, been trying to, excuse me, been trying to job hunt here and there, not having a whole lot of luck, but again, like I've said in the past, I don't think I want to do retail again. Um, I'd like to do something that involves just like maybe being in an office or something, but on the other hand, like I said, neither Keith or I have a car. you know, I need to get a bus pass, but that costs money, and so it's like, unless Keith can, you know, and like I said, like, I fully, support Keith in other ways, and like, he supports me, and, like, we support each other, and we, take care of each other. But it's like, I do want to work and bring some money into the family so that he's not the only one who has access to funds and stuff. And not that that would be bad if that were the case, but I would really like to, like I said, have a little spending money of my own so that I can get my ears checked, so I can get my eyes checked, get new glasses, so I can, do the things I want to do, so that I can maybe go exploring, see different parts of Exeter and all that, and check out different stores and stuff like that. So, but we're slowly working on it. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm just kind of having fun, trying to live life to the best of my ability. And yeah, so I don't really know what else to say about that. I always feel a little awkward talking about Keith and I. Just because, Keith, as far as I know, isn't on much social media, and he's can be kind of a private person, if that makes sense. Like, he doesn't share a lot of his thoughts and feelings, with the world. So it's like, but I like to talk to you guys about him because you guys understand, or I believe you do anyway. But yeah, in the meantime, I do promise I did want to do another gameplay video. Not sure when that'll come out. It'll either be tomorrow or tomorrow or Friday. But yeah, like I said, I just kind of wanted to chat at you guys for a bit, keep you updated, let you know what's going on, let you know I haven't dropped off the face of the earth or anything like that. But yeah, in the meantime, I hope you guys are having a great week. Hang in there, and, yeah. I will leave it there, and I will talk to you guys later.